Hello. Hi, Josh. Can you hear me, anybody? Oh, yay. Welcome. Oh, yay. So good to see all of you. Thank you for being here. Oh my gosh. Ah, oh my gosh, all of the names. I don't get to see you in person, but I have your names and I feel you. I know your essences. So great to be here with you. Thank you so much for coming. Oh, yes. Oh my goodness. Wow. Oh, well, I could spend like the next few hours just doing this. So I won't do that, but oh, I'm so happy to be with you. So today, our theme is trust, moving from fear to trust. Um, a session of just staring at your name. I could easily. This theme is so important to me, and I'm sure to so many of us, moving from fear to trust, learning to live with more trust and not in a fear state, which, I think fear is so much of an epidemic, especially in this world we're living in. We're constantly being given these messages of fear. And many of us, our nervous systems are wired in this way for many different reasons. So, how do we move from this place of consciousness of fear to one of more trust? This is the perennial question. I don't think that the answer comes from the mind. It definitely is not going to come from my mind, but I want to take a journey with this theme with you today through sharing, and I want to share a story with you um, about an experience that I had many years ago, and then we're going to do a practice, a deep rest practice. So if any of you are new to my sessions, welcome. I'm really happy to have you here. My sessions are usually 90 minutes. And if you can carve out that amount of time, if you want to, that would be wonderful, because it creates the opportunity to go deeper. And if you can't, of course, that's fine. But if you need to get up in the middle of the rest practice, I just encourage you to just do it slowly and don't rip yourself out of it. Just create the space to slowly emerge from the rest practice. So I'm going to begin with my invocation, which is, as many of you know, the way that I like to start my sessions, just to call in the blessings and ask for guidance for the session and bring all the good energy here to all of us, and have that prayer in my heart and all of our hearts that each one of us may receive whatever we need for this time that we have. Um, the intelligence of life knows what that is for each one of us. So that's what this invocation is, just a prayer offering that to the universe. So I'm going to start with that. And you can't see, but I have my harmonium here, my instrument right here. That's what this mic is. And that's what I'll be playing and singing. So you can use this time, since the invocation is in Sanskrit, you won't probably understand it, but it's more of the vibrational language. It's the intention. So I invite you to just gather yourself, use it as an opportunity to become present here, and just, really anchor into the present moment for as long as you can be here today. And you'll get the most out of it that way. And I will do the same. Snegdam Pangalidakini Bhagavati Nandasmida Srimukhi Vatsalyamritavarshini Sumaturam Sankirtana Lapini Shamangim Madhusita Suti Amritanandakmika Ishwari Om Amriteshwari Namaha Om Amriteshwari Namaha Om Amriteshwari Namaha Ananta Samsar Samutratara Nakaitavyam Guru Bhakti Davyam Vairagya Samranjata Pujanabhyam Namo Namo Shri Guru Padukapyam Namo Namo Shri Guru Padukapyam Namo Namo Shri Guru Padukapyam Namo 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 And just gather all your energy here in this moment. Just make the decision to be present for this time. Your body and mind in the same place. As we connect all of our hearts together to take this journey, we've all chosen to be here right now. So I'm sending my love and gratitude to all of you who are gathered here. Thank you so much. So, my last session was on letting go, and after I did that session, I felt, I don't know if uneasy is the word, but I felt kind of like the subject was just so huge and so vast, and I was trying to. There was so many different angles that I could have taken to explore it, and whatever angle I chose is the angle that I chose, but it felt like it was just a little more intellectual for a subject that is just not intellectual at all. So after that session ended, I just went right away and set this one up because I just felt like I need to go deeper in a different way with this theme, because I really don't think, at least from my own experience, that letting go, surrender, trust, all of these things are really not something that our mind can do. You know, we can work with our mind to try to let go of the things we're holding on to and all of that, but ultimately it's something that comes, in my experience anyway, from a deeper place. We can't think ourselves into surrender, and we can't really think ourselves into experience of trust either. But one thing that I've definitely found in my life is that trust is such deep, important medicine. And when I can connect to that place within myself that feels trust, everything in life looks and feels different. And when trust feels far away, there is fear. I feel scared or I feel unsupported, right? By life or by my own heart or whatever language you want to use, by God. It depends on your frame of reference. And so I think that this is a really important theme, especially, with the world that we're living in, with so many things that are going on in the world that naturally, put us in this kind of fear place, especially if you're reading the news or what's going on in the world. There's a lot of very so-called fearful things happening. I don't even need to name them all because we know. So why does trust matter? What is trust? And how do we connect to trust? That's what I want to talk about in this session. I think it's really easy to say, maybe you've said it to someone or said it to yourself or felt it or heard it, things like, just let go, or just drop it, or just trust, have faith, right? These are really simple kind of platitudes or simple phrases, but the truth is it doesn't really work in such a way that you can just kind of say it to someone on command and expect that that's going to happen. There are so many reasons why we don't trust. And a lot of times these wounds, you could call them, go back to a very early time in our life, right? If every person's parents or caregivers were superhuman saints and were able to respond to every baby and child's needs in every moment in time, maybe some of these things could be avoided or changed. But the reality is that's not the world that we're living in. It's impossible for any person's parent or caregiver to always be there. Even if a child is just, in the crib crying and the mother doesn't come on time or doesn't come at all, that can evoke a feeling of fear, right? Imagine, just think of like any baby's little nervous system. And it's just kind of operating at a very primitive level. And they're basic things that feel supportive. And when those things are absent, the nervous system has a response. So you can imagine that if you're a little child or something and you have any number of experiences that cause your nervous system to feel like, oh, I'm not seen, I'm not heard, I'm unsupported, I'm alone, I'm abandoned, whatever it may be, all of these different things. And of course, we have these experiences in different ways throughout our life, that there's fear that we can start to develop like a lack of trust, in life. And that's not anybody's fault. It's not about blaming anybody. This is an imperfect world and every person is doing the best they can. And there's reasons for everything, right? Everything is learned and passed down. It doesn't help to point a finger at anybody. Things are learned and there's always so many causes and conditions for everything that happens. So I think it's really helpful to look deeply when we're talking about anything to try to understand like what is underneath it, because nothing is ever quite as it appears. But the truth is that we do grow up a lot of times with the nervous systems that aren't cared for, and we're not really taught how to take care of our nervous system. This seems to be a field that is like really emerging now. Like there's so much out there about trauma, about the nervous system, how to take care of it. And I think that that's really important because these things matter, and when we're doing any type of spiritual practice, meditation or chanting or whatever, a lot of the programming, a lot of those kind of wounds and conditioning, those adaptive mechanisms that we've developed begin to reveal themselves and come up. So the idea that meditation is always going to be peaceful or relaxing or blissful experience, in my experience, is not always true. Sometimes it involves having to confront and feel these places within that weren't met before, that weren't addressed or given attention. And that can be uncomfortable, but that is the path of healing. So all of that is just to say that you can't just say, oh, just trust or have faith or just let go, as if, we can just automatically do that, because many of these things are, these patterns and ways of living are kind of hardwired from a very early age. If you think of like a child or a baby is like wet cement, certain things, those imprints are kind of made. And so when we do any type of practice, we're connecting to that. And I think that's Father Thomas Keating, who I've mentioned before in some of my sessions, was a beautiful, beautiful teacher, a contemplative Christian teacher. He talked about spiritual practices like an unloading of the unconscious, that all of these things that are kind of there that haven't been seen, that have been ignored, begin to come out into the light. And when that happens, we may think, oh my God, I'm doing something wrong, or this is what my upcoming workshop is going to look at in part. But we may start to think, oh, I'm doing it wrong. I'm supposed to be peaceful. I'm supposed to be relaxing, this meditation is supposed to help me with this or that, but actually I feel like I'm regressing, or I feel like I'm getting crazy, or I think my mind is going crazy. I have more thoughts than I ever did before. Actually, we don't have more thoughts than we ever did before. It's just that we have more awareness. So our awareness makes us think that there's things that are going awry when actually nothing different is happening. It's just we're seeing it, whereas we didn't see it before. So when we start to look at a subject like trust, at least for me, a lot of times what starts to come up is all the reasons and ways that maybe I haven't trusted, or I don't trust, or I might start to see, oh my gosh, look at how I'm always clenching my fists or grabbing onto my steering wheel, or look at all the ways that I'm like trying to control life or manipulate it because there's a fear there. And it's just really interesting to observe, not observe with judgment, but just like with curiosity. Like, wow, this is so interesting to see the way that I'm habitually contracting against life, or I'm shutting down. Like, what would happen if I actually learn to just soften where I might want to contract, or learn to have less defenses, right? So I think that's part of the beauty of the spiritual path, is that awareness itself is the healer. Carl Jung said something like that about awareness is curative. It's actually our awareness itself that is the medicine. We don't actually have to do anything, so to speak, but just to become aware, like, oh my gosh, look how I'm hardening myself against life, or how I'm constantly in that fight or flight state. Obviously, there's reasons for it. I have to have compassion towards those reasons. I have to have love towards those reasons. So if we don't feel safe, it's going to be hard for us to trust. There's a lot of reasons why we might not feel safe. And one of the things that I think is so beautiful about so many contemplative traditions and practices is that they help us to create and come back to a real safety, the truest safety, which is within. Thich Nhat Hanh would talk about it like our island of self, that in this island of self, it's like a refuge, that's our home. And that is a safe place. But we have to practice to nurture that home, to cultivate that, so that we can come back to it again and again, because we're constantly being taught to leave, to abandon ourselves, to find our happiness or security somewhere else. So to bring ourselves back to this being, to find a home there, is a practice. That's why we call it spiritual practice. We're not expected to be perfected beings. We're learning. And along with learning to work with our mind and to see the way our thoughts are controlling our reality, so-called reality, and the way that, we're perceiving everything based on our perceptions that were probably laid down from an early age, we can start to see these things. And it's only by seeing them that they start to change. So I think that that's really relevant when it comes to the question of trust and letting go and all of these things. Because first of all, we can't really think our way into it. And I think it's important to just acknowledge if we have a hard time with trust, or if it feels difficult, if you find yourself kind of holding on, that there are reasons. And these are not reasons, we shouldn't be upset or angry at ourselves for these reasons. What those reasons need is our love. Those reasons need is our attention and our understanding. That is such an important aspect of the path, to look, but not look with judgment or scorn, but to look with love, and then to have that curiosity. I wanted to tell you a story. I don't usually tell like a longer story, but I wanted to share this story with you because about something in my own journey with trust that I've actually been thinking about recently. And I'm sure some of you are familiar with the sage Ramana Maharshi. I have him right here. He's joining. He's always present, but I'm sure many of you recognize him. Ramana Maharshi. He passed out of his body. He dropped his body, as Ram Dass would say, in 1950. And he was the guru of Papaji, who was Muji's guru, and Papaji was also Gangaji's guru. There's like a lineage of, could call them like neo-Advaita teachers who are connected to Ramana Maharshi. And I really have a deep love. Oh, I'm sorry. I have a deep love for this sage, and have spent time and various occasions in his ashram in India. And so to me, he just embodies silence. Just his face, I just feel such a connection to him. So when it comes to that lineage, my connection that I feel is with him. And when I was 21, for the first time, I went to his ashram when I was in India, and he has a beautiful story. I won't go too in depth with it, just in the interest of time. But when he was 16, he's from South India. And when he was 16, he had what you could call an awakening experience. And he essentially, you could call it a near-death experience, but he died, so to speak, but he wasn't dead. And he realized that as he was sort of dead, so to speak, that there was this current or a force that was still present and awake. And that was what he calls the self with a capital S. And so this realization kind of ushered him into this phase of his life. And he moved to a town called Tiruvannamalai, which is in southern India in Tamil Nadu. And in this town, Tiruvannamalai is a very beautiful sacred mountain called Arunachala. Arunachala is like a pillar of light, and it's considered to be an incarnation of Shiva. And so I went there when I was 21, and I didn't know anything about him at that time. But when I went, I just had a very powerful experience. I had no preconceptions because I didn't know anything about any of this at that time. And I was very deeply in the Buddhist path at that time. So I just went with an open mind and had a very profound experience there that really stayed with me. And so several years later, when I was, I guess, 25 or 24, I went back to India, and I stayed there for about half a year. And mostly I was at my teacher Amma's ashram, but I spent part of the time in Tiruvannamalai at Ramanashram, which was Ramana Maharshi's ashram. And at that time, I was just really confused about everything in my life. I didn't know what I was doing with my life. I had this really strong interest in spirituality, obviously, but I felt like, what am I going to do with, make a living? How am I going to do anything with this? Like, I don't have any like skills. I'm not going to, in the realm of spirituality, what do I have to offer? At that point, I hadn't ever sang in my life or anything. Certainly never thought I was going to be doing singing. It just goes to show my life is very unexpected. But so when I was there, one day I was just taking a stroll through the area, and in this mountain, Arunachala, there are these caves on the mountain, and Ramana Maharshi spent many, many, many years living and meditating in these caves, Skandashram and Virupaksha cave. And if you go to Tiruvannamalai, you can go up the mountain and you can sit and meditate in the caves, and it's really powerful. So one day I wasn't going up the mountain, but I was taking a walk just around the area, and I ended up on some random little dirt road. And I don't know where I was just wandering around, and I was passing these little houses, and I passed this little house, and there was a sign, just this tiny little sign outside the house, and it said, meditation, astrology, like a couple of other things. And I didn't know what it was, and I just was curious. And so I innocently just like opened the gate and went into this house, and this man was there. And he was like, "Can I help you?" And I just said, "Yeah, what do you do here? I just curious what you're doing." And he said, "Come in." And so I went into his little office, and he had all these really old books. And he came from like a lineage of healers and astrologers and teachers, but he wasn't somebody that anybody would know. He was just kind of tucked away in his little world. And he just asked to look at my palm. So he looked at my palm, and then he took my birth information down. And then he said, "Just go and come back in a few hours." So I left, and I thought, I don't know, is this crazy? Should I go back? I don't know what this is. I don't know anything about this person, but something inside just felt like, I think I need to just go back. So I went back, and it was crazy. I sat down in his office, and he just like told me all of these things about myself that nobody would ever have known before. And just things inside of me, things about my life. And it was really interesting and a kind of a vulnerable experience, because I felt like this random person in this random place. I felt so exposed, and I didn't know what to make of any of it. But I felt this connection to him. And so I just started going to see him every day. And I just would go by myself, and we would sit in his little office, and we would talk, and he would tell me these stories, or he would share teachings with me, and he would tell me things about my nature, like my work. I remember I actually found, I don't, in the interest of time, I'm not going to share, but I found my old journal that I kept from, I just was reading it yesterday, from the time that I was there. It's crazy. at interior of anomaly during that visit, and I was rereading my experience with him, and it just was fascinating. I remember thinking when he was telling me about my life and stuff, he was sharing all the stuff that was so accurate. But the one thing I had asked him was like, I'm not sure what to do with my life. I'm not sure what my work will be. And he said something like, I read it in the journal. He said, well, you're going to teach spirituality. And I remember thinking at the time, like, he's good, but he's not that good because I'm not going to be doing that. Obviously, my path unfolded differently because here I am, but I never would have imagined. I thought he got a lot right, but he definitely didn't get that right. So that was just really interesting to reread that. I didn't remember. But anyway, so one day I worked with him for a while. Every day I was just going and meeting with him. And one day he just said, I want to do this healing process thing with you, this meditation. So you need to come early in the morning and, just come in the morning, and I'm not going to say anything more about it. And I really trusted him at that point. So I was comfortable with that. So I went there early in the morning, and we went to the roof of his house, and you could see Arunachala, the mountain there. And he had me lie down on this like cot, and he put these speakers near my ears, and he just told me to relax my body. And he started playing through these speakers. This kind of, it was Om. It was like a version of Om, just kept going over and over again, Oming. And I was lying there, and he just said, I'm going to go away and sit over there. So I didn't know what he was doing, but he went and sat in the corner. And I was just lying there trying to relax, listening to this Om thing. But I was aware as I was lying there, I couldn't relax. I felt so tense and so anxious, and I kept looking over, and he was like sitting in the corner far away with his eyes closed. And I thought, is he doing something to me? What's going on? I was totally nervous. And after about 20 minutes, he came over and turned off the music, and he said, get up, it's not working. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, you're not open, you have too many blocks, you're not surrendered, go. And you have to come back tomorrow. You need to surrender. You need to surrender, go. And he was kind of like a little bit sharp with me. And I remember just thinking, no, I said to him, no, I am open. I am open. I want to have this experience. I'm trying to be open to it. And he said, you're not, leave. And he pushed me out. And that's kind of the way he was. It was like a tough love thing. And he was like that a lot. He was kind of just very firm and direct. And I appreciated that, actually, because there was no BS. He was just like really told like it is. And so I left there, and I felt so dejected. And I was walking, I remember, down these streets, and I went back to the ashram, and inside I just kept thinking, why aren't I open? I don't know how to surrender. Like, why do I have all these blocks? What's wrong with me? What's going on? I don't understand. And my mind was just like on fire. And I went and I sat on this little, it was like a bench or a scoop or something near the base of this mountain, Arunachala. And I was just sitting there. And all of a sudden, it was like this wave came over me, and I just had this image of all these times in my life that I was afraid to let go, that I was afraid to surrender control, that I was holding on, and I could just see this images of myself, like, I'm not going to let go of control. I'm not going to let go. I'm not going to surrender. And I just had this visceral feeling. And suddenly it just came over me, that feeling like, I don't want to do this anymore, and I don't know how to stop doing it. And I felt like my hands were like up against the wall, and I just kept thinking, I don't know how to surrender. I don't know how to let go. What do I do? What do I do? And I just kept saying it over and over again in my mind. And then it was like a cartoon character, where the tears just start like flying out of your eyes. I just burst into tears. And it was like that experience was a catalyst. When he was telling me it didn't work, it kind of like flipped a switch or something. And I just completely broke down. I just kept feeling like the heaviness, like I don't want to live my life this way, feeling like I am holding on all the time, like I'm fighting against life, like I'm feeling closed down. And I felt the heaviness of it, like just weighing on my heart. And I just was really grieving about it in a way I never felt before. Somehow I really trusted my relationship with this person. And when he sort of revealed, I'm not open and I can't let go, it was like I heard him say it, and I realized the truth of that. And I was just crying and feeling the pain of that. And like these prayers were just kind of coming out of my heart without even thinking, like, please help me surrender, help me let go. I don't even know who I was talking to. And at some point in that process, I opened my eyes, and I looked, and I saw this mountain, Arunachala. And this mountain was so unwavering and steady and present. And it felt like the mountain was just there looking at me, being with me with no judgments or opinion. It was just like the presence of this mountain. And I can't explain exactly what happened, but it felt like I took all of the burdens that I was feeling and I just like put them at the base of the mountain and I just dropped them there. It was a very it was an experience that was beyond words, and I've never had an experience like that quite again. But it was an experience of total letting go where I just felt like everything washed through me and I just put it down. I just dropped it. And I remember that night, I was going through some really kind of wild stuff. And I went back the next day to see, his name was Bobby, this healer that I was working with. And we did it again. And this time when he saw me, he said, I know what happened. And I know you're ready to do this now. And that was weird. That weirded me out. But at that point, I almost had no thoughts in my mind because I had completely let go of what I was holding. I had no expectations. I had no nothing. I just was kind of open. And I laid down on this cot again, and he put that music, that om, by my ears. And I remember I opened my eyes and I saw the mountain in the distance. And I just felt like that mountain is alive. That mountain is the presence of something that is inside of me that I can trust. It's just this deep feeling of trust that I had never felt before. And he did this healing, whatever it was that he was doing. And it was a really powerful experience. He said that he was just kind of clearing these blocks inside of me. I'll never know what he did, but whatever he did, I felt it very palpably. And there was like a shift, like a complete shift in my being after that. I felt physically really different, and I perceived everything really differently after that. And I remember when it was over, we went downstairs and his wife and daughter were there, and he just served me this like porridge and he was like smoking a cigarette. The whole thing was so surreal. I'll just never forget it. And I had a number of other experiences with him over the coming days that I was there, coming weeks that I spent with him. All kinds of, I could tell you so many really, really interesting stories that I'll save for another time. But he had a huge impact on my life. And after that, I stayed in touch with him for a little while, but then he just vanished and I've never been able to find him again. He's nowhere to be found. I don't even know if it really happened. Was it a dream? Was it a mirage? Was it real? He's just gone. It was almost like he just sort of dropped into my life in this way for this time and taught me some things, and then just poof, he's just gone. So I couldn't find him. I've tried. In fact, before this session, I was like Googling around, but there's no trace of this human anywhere. But the reason I'm telling you this story is because it was one of the most pure, interesting experiences that I ever had with letting go and connecting to trust that I can't even really put into words. But it was almost like an entire lifetime of armoring myself against letting go, of armoring myself against trust, of defending. In that moment, it just all came to this point, and I felt the pain of it, so deeply. And when I was able to meet it with presence and with the presence of the mountain, it just like something happened. And it was grace, you could say, in a way, that it just turned into something else. And it taught me so much about, first of all, having compassion for all of those things, these adaptive mechanisms, these defensive mechanisms, that we all have, that we're all just trying so hard to maintain this ego that we have, to solidify our identity and to keep a separate self. Think about how hard we work, with all of our opinions and our judgments and our fears and our attempts to control and all of that. To surrender that is not a comfortable thing for our ego, but yet someplace deeper within us wants that, doesn't want to live bound up, always looking at everything with like a side eye kind of thing. That's not like a very expansive, beautiful way to live. It's a shut down way to live. But again, there's reasons why many of us are habitually that way. And so that experience taught me so much about the beauty of really letting go, and how it's not something that I could force to happen through my mind. I tried everything with my mind to figure out how to let go, to rip this thing out of my consciousness, to change this, to push that, to force that, to drop that, and nothing ever worked. But everything we do matters, and it all adds up over time. Every drop of effort that we make is what leads to that effortless moment of an opening of some kind, of a shift that happens. We may think, oh, nothing's happening, or I'm doing all these things, trying to trust and I can't trust. I'm trying to let go and I'm not letting go. But it's not true. It's just that it's like the unseen realm, like the subtle realms. We don't really see how what we're doing is having an effect at a point that we don't yet know. And I felt like that was what happened for me in this experience with this teacher that I was working with. And at that moment, of that letting go, it was like just saying, I give up, but not in a way of disempowerment. It was a giving up, like I give up trying to figure out the universe. I give up the need to have all the answers. I give up trying to manipulate this world into something that I want it to be to feel safe. And I'm just going to let it be, and in that letting be, there was like a freeing that happened. So I just have so much gratitude to the mountain of Arunachala and to Ramana Maharshi, who's just always there. I just feel the presence of this amazing soul always. And he's just always offering those pointings, those instructions, that are just, his main teaching was that we need to ask the question through self-inquiry of who am I? And such a simple question is actually so profound. And that question alone has the ability to cut through, everything. Everything in life can be cut through with that question, who am I? If we just keep coming back to that and even asking that question, who is it that wants to surrender? Who is it that thinks they need to let go? Who is it that feels resistant? All of these questions, we realize that actually there's not really a clear answer for that with our mind. And that twists our mind in knots to such a way that eventually our mind just kind of breaks open from it. At least that's what I found. But the other thing that I really learned from him and from many, many different teachers and from my own experience is that if we're not connected to ourselves deeply, how can we learn to trust ourselves? Trust isn't like something you just get at the grocery store. It's something that is cultivated and nourished by deepening our connection to this heart. Our hridaya is our spiritual heart. As we develop that connection to that home or to that place within that is unwavering, like the mountain, that presence, then trust naturally starts to grow because the safety starts to grow. It starts to expand and we can contact it more easily. And then those defenses, those mechanisms of control start to release on their own, not because we're trying to force them to, but the knots can just untie themselves, so to speak. So I think that the reason that I want to do a practice today around rest is because I think rest is so essential, not just resting our body, because we're all living in this world where everything is mayhem and madness and busyness and chaos all the time. And we don't actually often take time to just rest our body, but also resting our mind, resting our opinions, resting our assumptions, resting our identities that we're clinging on to, resting this personality that we're trying so hard to build up and to change and to show the world and all of that. All of these things, they need a rest. And when we rest deeply, trust, I have found, it's just there. Because really, we are trust. Who we are is trust. Even if our mind may tell us, no, you can't trust, you've had these bad experiences, you're going to get hurt and all these different things. Again, there's reasons for that. There's something deeper. We can't really trust our mind because our mind is shifty. Our mind is always judging. It's always moving towards likes and dislikes and attachments and aversions. And our mind is not necessarily trustable. Think about how your mind is in every day. It may change in any moment. Should I stay or should I go? Should I do this? Should I do that? Our mind is always going waffling like this. It's just the nature of the mind. It vacillates. It's like a pendulum. But our mind is not who we are, which is Ramana's teaching. Our mind is not who we are. We are the self, by whatever name you want to call it, something deeper than that, these deeper waters. And if we don't take time to rest, then we get estranged from that place, which is where I think where trust lives, a place that's deeper than our conditioning, that's deeper than those knee-jerk reactions, than those habitual defense patterns. So rest is not only important just for our well-being, but I think it's important because it's like the soil where trust can really go deep and bloom and benefit us in so many ways and help us to feel trust within and trust without. There's just a really simple quote from Osho, and he says, when you trust yourself, you trust the whole universe, which I love because ultimately, from the teachings of Ramana Maharshi, there is no world outside of the self. There is no separate world or separate universe. It's a non-dual philosophy, so it's all one. If I trust myself, I trust life. I trust the universe. If I trust the universe, I trust myself. It's really one and the same. So hum, I am that. I am that I am. I am Shiva. I am the totality. So trusting in this is trusting in everything, if that makes sense. But we can't think our way into it. We have to have it be an embodied experience. And it's from that place of silence, of inner silence. And Ramana himself really, his true teaching and transmission was in silence. It's in that silence that we can contact the trust. So better than me saying anything about it, which I've already said way more than I thought I would, I think it's important that we have a practice where we can actually try to relax and try to open up to a feeling of support and come home to an experience of safety in our being. And again, that takes time, that takes practice. We have to be aware of the layers of trauma and conditioning that are there and tend to those. But the more that we can carve out that place, the more possibility there is for that trust to build and to grow, for our confidence in ourselves to grow, and confidence in what is in life, so to speak. So I want to do this practice with you now. I know that I've done many different deep rest practices here on the app, and I'm sure many of you have participated in them. They're all a little different, but they have the same through line. But for this one, even if I'm going to kind of lead it in a similar way, I really want to hold it with that energy of trust, with that, I just want that thread of trust to run through the whole thing and invite in the possibility that we could all connect to that more deeply in ourselves through resting and through dropping down through the surface layers of our mind to a quieter place and just see what's there with curiosity. And it's going to be different for every person, of course. And I encourage you always do whatever you need to do to take care of yourself. And, things come up sometimes when we do any type of spiritual practice. It could be meditation, it could be deep rest, it could be chanting. And so always listen to yourself, always take care of yourself and take responsibility for whatever your experience. That's so, so important, especially for something like a virtual thing like this. Just listen to you. So I'm going to offer this practice, and you can receive it in whatever way you want to or don't want to. Make it yours. I'm just kind of creating the conditions where we can hopefully touch the energy of trust, and the energy of rest, and rest, that need to just grasp and cling and resist and defend. Just see if we can feel support by life, support by the floor, support by the chair, support in your clothes. Feel support by life. And we'll do it as an inquiry to see what happens. So I'm going to move now into the practice part of the session. So if you need to leave, thank you for being here. And if you can stay, I want to encourage you to just be in a place, if you can, where you won't be disturbed, where you could really just be quiet and take care, rest and be comfortable. And we'll go from there. So I'm going to begin similarly to the way I begin my water rituals, which many of you know, and I like to do just like almost like a purification, where we just take a few minutes to just release anything that may be in the way for this experience, bring our energy back. And then if you like, you can lie down or just be comfortable. We're going to go through our body and just bring presence, relaxation, and love to this form. Okay. So I know many of you know this track. One tribe from Perth, Australia, that gave me their permission to use it. So I like to use this as a way for us to become grounded in our body and here on the earth. Okay. So I want to invite you to just completely let go of everything I just said. I know that letting go is a process and a practice, but see if you can just let it be and come back to yourself and come back to your own experience, your own intelligence, because that is way more important than anything that I could say. Just bring your mind and body here in this place. And we're going to begin just by making contact with this physical body that we have, whatever that means for you. You can just massage yourself or just rub your head or your shoulders or whatever feels good to just become aware that you are inhabiting this physical body. Just feel this body. Become aware of this home that your soul and that light within you is inhabiting this time around. And you can feel and just say thank you to this home. And now we're going to do our practice of rubbing our hands together and generating energy. Everything that we do in this practice is an opportunity to pay attention and to be mindful. So really feel your hands together. Feel the heat being generated. Feel the energy or the chi that is coming between your hands. And then when you're ready, you can just gently bring your palms apart and just feel whatever that is, that energy or that presence there between your palms. Now we're going to take this energy in our hands and we're just going to sweep our body 3 times all the way. And you're just going to imagine that you're just sweeping off any negative energy, stuck energy, anything that's weighing you. Just release it. When you're done, you can just shake your hands. Feel the cleansing just of that. I'm going to do it one more time. Rub your palms together, generating heat, generating energy. And just feel the presence there. This universal life force, and we're just going to place our palms over our eyes. Just rest your eyes. And breathe and rest. And let your eyes just rest. You can keep your palms on your eyes or you can let them down into your lap. And we're just going to do 3 breaths. And as we breathe in, you're just going to imagine that you're just inhaling that fresh, beautiful life force, that fresh prana, that fresh chi into your body. Hold for a minute, and then you're going to exhale and exhale through every cell of your body. imagining anything stagnant, anything that feels stuck, anything that doesn't want to be a part of this time, we're going to release that. So breathe in, hold, and then exhale and release through your whole body. Breathe in, hold, exhale everything that's not yours through your whole body. We pick up all kinds of thoughts and emotions from our atmospheres, other people, we need to let them go. So with this last one, we're just going to inhale that fresh energy, and then we're going to exhale anything that's not ours. Just be within our own energy. So breathe in, hold, and exhale. Release everywhere through your whole body, release. Now just feel and intend that you are just here with yourself in your own energy. Feel the earth supporting you. Feel the air that you're breathing supporting you without you having to do anything. And with that, you can lie down or get in a comfortable position where you're just going to be able to relax for a little while. Really get comfortable. You don't need to assume any particular posture except what's comfortable for you. So allow your body to be here on the earth. We're just going to begin by inviting in and calling in the energy of trust. What might that feel like? What might that be like without needing to think about it? Somehow we know this trust. Whenever your mind wants to say, no, I don't trust, no, I doubt, your mind wanders, just say, no, trust, trust, trust. We're just going to bring trust here. Trust is always here. We're just going to uncover it. We're not going to uncover it by forcing anything. We're going to uncover it through gentleness and presence. So allow yourself to just sink deeply into this moment. Sink into your body. Breathe however you breathe. And notice that you're actually being breathed. How does that happen? Can you trust that? Trust that your body knows how to breathe. So we're going to call in that support of the earth, and the support of any guides that you have, or of the qualities or virtues that mean something to you. These things are like energies, and when we can call them in, and they are present through our awareness. We're just going to do a very gentle, simple body scan. Just becoming aware of this form, lying or sitting down. And allow your head to just be heavy on the earth, on the pillow, on the chair, wherever it may be. Just rest your head. Rest all of the thoughts. Rest your beautiful brain. If you like, you can imagine a little light or a big light like the sun in the top of your head. This beautiful, warm, golden rays of the sun moving into your head through every atom and follicle of hair, every pore of your head. Just feel that light just bringing a softness, quieting everything down. And you can allow that light or just that attention to soften your face. So much tension we hold in our face. So let your face become your original face. What was that original face that you had before you were born? Allow your eyes to just rest in their sockets. No need to see anything. We're only looking within now. And soften your jaw, and the back of your throat. Just let it soften. All of those unexpressed words, just allow them to be there. Give them love and space. No need to change anything. And just send light and love and gratitude to all of these sense organs in this part of your body, your eyes, your ears, your nose, your mouth. Thank you so much for helping me to experience this world through my senses. I'm just going to extend that gratitude and let that light move down your throat into your chest, filling your whole chest with just this love and this presence and this beautiful sunlight pouring down. Allowing that sun, allowing that light to move around any of the armoring around your heart, knowing that it's there for a reason, to protect. But for right now, we can just bring some attention to it so we can rest as well. And send some gratitude to your heart. Thank you so much to my heart. Thank you, thank you. You beat even without my conscious awareness. Thank you. Sending that light to your lungs that breathe in the trees and breathe out to nourish those trees. Imagine that light that's filling your chest to move all the way down your arms, through your fingers and out your fingertips. Streams of light moving through your chest and your arms. In this moment, your arms can be heavy. There's nothing for them to hold up. No need to hold any burdens. And just let them all down. Send that appreciation to your hands for everything that they do for you in every moment. Thank you so much to my hands, to my fingers, for feeling this world. Now we allow that light to flow down through the diaphragm into your belly. It's such an important area of our body with all of these amazing organs that are secretly working all the time to support our existence. So just fill your entire solar plexus and belly with that love, with that sunlight and that gratitude. Just say thank you so much to all of my internal organs. You can imagine that as you visualize this, or if you don't visualize, if you just sense it, that each organ is just lighting up, filling with this beautiful light. All the way from front to back, and the kidneys and the adrenals and your spine, to the front, to the center, to all of those organs that work day and night. These organs and parts of your body are loving you. So just feel that those organs are also softening. Imagine that if they're like clenched fists, that those fists are just gently opening up like a flower blooming towards the sunlight, opening and softening, and drinking in that light. And if you're missing a physical organ, know that the subtle organ, the imprint of that organ remains there, and it receives this attention, it receives this love. Send that love and gratitude into your pelvic bowl. And let that light flow all the way down your legs and your knees, into your calves, and through the bottom of your feet. Just feeling, thank you, thank you, thank you. Just letting this waves of gratitude just wash over you. See if you can just let everything just melt. Melt and let go of that holding and clenching. Feeling support of this space, of this time, of the earth, of your own inner intelligence. We invite trust to be here. Trust. Trust in our body. Trust in our inner knowing. Trust that lives below the surface layers of our mind in a deeper place. Just allow every part of you to be at rest. Just rest. It's okay to rest. If you don't know how to rest, you can just tell yourself that. It's okay to rest. It's okay to let go. With each exhalation that you release, just feel yourself softening and relaxing more and more into this moment, into yourself, yourself with a capital S. Now we will take refuge in that self that is much more easily accessed when we're relaxed. So in this place of rest, I invite you to just remain open and receptive to the energy of trust. And I'm going to sing a mantra that is for taking refuge in the Buddha, taking refuge in the Dharma, taking refuge in the Sangha, in the teachings of the teacher and the community. But really, in essence, this song, this chant, is an opportunity and an invitation for you to take refuge into your own self, to the scripture that lives within your heart, within your own body, to your own inner knowing, to the teacher within you, and to the community that you're a part of, which is the entire universe, all of infinity. That's our community. We take refuge in that, in the totality. Buddham Sharan Gacchami Dhammam Sharanam Gacchami Sangam Sharanam Gacchami Buddham Sharanam Gacchami Dhammam Sharanam Gacchami Sangam Sharanam Gacchami. Take refuge in the deeper part of you, deeper than thought, deeper than habitual conditioning, deeper than separation, deeper than your ego. Take refuge there. Buddham Sharanam Gacchami Dhammam Sharanam Buddham Sharanam Gacchami. Dhammam Sharanam Gacchami. Sangham Sharanam Just rest. Allow yourself to just put all your burdens down. Just feel that you can make contact with something within you that is the truest part of you. This trust, this knowing place. It's actually all of our nature, our true nature. Just gets clouded over by the clouds in the sky, but that sky remains. So feel that sky. Become that sky. As Rumi said, become the sky. And let all of those places that are holding on, that are gripping, that are struggling, they don't need to be told that they should be different. They just need space to be as they are. And just let everything be as it is. And be the space that holds all of that. In truth, as Ramana Maharshi said, we are that. We are that space. We are that sky that all of these things are moving in. And that sky itself is a place of deep rest. So let us meditate on that, on the self, that is the sky, that is like the earth, that is unwavering presence, like that mountain I shared with you, Arunachala. Let us touch that place inside of ourselves through the mantra Soham. I am that. I am that presence. I am that rest. I am trust. Soham, Soham, Soham Shivam. Soham, Soham, Soham Shivam. Soham, Soham, Soham Shivam. Soham, Soham. I am that I am. 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 Soham Shivoham. Soham Soham. 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 Soham Shivoham. Feel quiet underneath the waves. In the deeper part of the ocean, there's less movement. There's more stillness. When we experience more silence within, that trust rises up, it reveals itself. And our mind has less of a tendency to just go to its stories of doubt. The mind will habitually say, I don't trust. But our heart says, trust, yes, I trust. I trust. Absolute trust. What am I trusting? I'm trusting something deeper. Deeper than the waves, vaster than the clouds. Trusting the sky, trusting the earth within me. And as I rest, as I trust that, I feel more connected to the whole of existence. I realize I'm not alone, but I'm connected to everything in existence. I'm going to read you a passage from Robert Adams, who was a disciple of Sri Ramana Maharshi and wrote a beautiful book called The Silence of the Heart. He says, "The power that knows the way will take care of you. The one who makes the sun shine, the grass grow, the apples grow perfectly on apple trees. The food that sustains us, nourishes us. Everything has been lovingly provided for us. Have faith. Trust the power that knows the way. This is the first step, to have total faith and total trust in it, in the one. You may call this God if you want to. Makes no difference what you call it. It is within you. It is without you. It is everywhere. All you have to do is to surrender to it. Surrender all of your doubts, your frustrations, your fears, everything that has besieged you for so long. Give it all up. It doesn't belong to you. Be free of it. Breathe in the power of that beautiful statement. And exhale that anything that stands in the way of knowing that truth in your whole being. Surrender all of your doubts, your frustrations, your fears, everything that has besieged you for so long. Give it all up. It doesn't belong to you. Be free of it. Allow yourself to feel presence of trust within you. The deeper part of you that knows the way, even when your mind says otherwise. As you rest deeply, that place comes alive. And if you're lying down, whatever position you may be in, just allow your awareness to come back into this physical body. In the present moment, feeling yourself here in the space with all that are gathered. Feeling your arms and your legs and your fingers and your toes, bringing that consciousness into this form. I'm just going to complete by chanting Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. May all beings everywhere be peaceful and happy. With the prayer that this session, whatever we've done here today, may benefit the whole world in ways that our mind can never understand. Om samastah sukhino bhavantu. Lokah 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 samastah sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om. Peace, peace, peace. Thank you. Thank you so much. I hope you receive something from that. I could have kept going for a long time, but I wanted to honor the time and not go too far over as I'm known to do. As I said at the beginning, trust is a practice. And I think it's a practice of returning home to this self with a capital S, returning home to that, taking refuge there, going deeper than our mind, going deeper than our adaptive conditioning, and trying to connect with a feeling of support within life, within the planet, within the earth, within this body, and resting. So remember, when you trust yourself, you trust the universe, as Osho said, and vice versa. So I think it really helps to have Sangha and community when we can remind one another to trust, and that trust can't be forced, that there's reasons why we don't trust, and that those places within us need love. Those hurt places, those wounds, those places that don't feel safe, they need care, they need attention. We can't rip our hearts to open, but we can create the conditions to allow them to. And I think that that's the most important thing, to create those conditions. You know, when you plant a garden, you want to create the conditions for things to flower. In that way, we just need to create those conditions for that defenses to come down, for that softening to happen. So thank you so much, as always, for being with me and taking this journey with me. I learned so much from doing these sessions. And like I've said before, you know, when I do a live session, I really sit with the theme and walk with it so much. And I put so much time and heart into these sessions because they mean a lot to me. And it's really, I really want to offer you something that will hopefully be of value in some way. And of course, like anything, these are just seeds planted. There's no way to possibly cover this whole subject in just 90 minutes, but I see it like an ongoing conversation with another and with life. And when I connect to that 25-year-old that I mentioned to you, you know, that experience that I had when I was in Tiruvannamalai so many years ago, I see how the seeds from that experience continue to, I'm still on that journey, you know, that same journey. It's like that was a catalyst for something that is, I'm working with still in my life at the time. And I love to be able to share the journey together. You know, we're all walking alongside one another. And It's a privilege to be able to share that. Not to be perfected beings or to have everything figured out, but to just sit in the questions and have those aspirations in our heart to wake up, to be kinder towards ourselves and towards the world, and to live with less defensiveness and armor because it hurts. And yet it serves a purpose. So it needs love. Anyway, thank you so much. I think some of you know that I'm offering a workshop on June 12th, and it's called The Mystic Journey. And it will be continuing with some of the themes in this session and the other ones, really looking at what is this thing called a mystic journey, looking at the lives of different mystics and how sort of what the blueprint of their lives have to teach us about our own journey. I think so often spirituality, at least the social media spirituality, is portrayed in this very romantic way, which it is romantic in some ways, but it's not really romantic when you get down to the ground because we're meeting those places within us that have been closed off. We're meeting these places that are afraid or that want to close down or be separate. But when you learn about any of the mystics through time, they've all been on such profound journeys and met incredible obstacles and challenges, and they transformed the compost of those experiences into flowers. And we are all invited to do that as well. And I think at this time in the world, the mystic heart within each of us wants to be awakened, and it needs to be awakened. How do we do that? What does that look like, and why does it matter? Is a question that has fascinated me my whole life, which is why I've studied comparative religion for so long. And I'm just really interested in it. And I think if more people in the world were connected to the mystic within them. And by mystic, I mean one who's in love with the mystery, who recognizes that there's a unified field of consciousness that we're all living in and actually sees the world through those eyes. We could make so much change in this world. Most mystics through time were not only incredible spiritual masters, but they were social reformers. And they made a lot of change in the world during the time they were alive. So I think that's really inspiring. So anyway, all of this will be a part of the workshop. So you're all welcome. And I will set up another live session sometime. I'm always open to your suggestions of a theme. I just want to do what you're interested in. And chances are, if you are, I'm interested in it too. So anyway, lots of love and thank you so much. If you're not a part of my circle, you're more than welcome to join if you'd like. It's called Friends of Carrie. And it's just a space where we meditate together and people share. And it's a really beautiful, supportive community. And I'm really honored to be a part of it and grateful, so grateful to everybody there, whether they're active participants or not. There's just, there's a collective energy created whenever there's a space, whether it's virtual or physical. And so hopefully that can be a space of light and goodness. All right. Thank you so, so much. Just take 1 second to just feel grateful for this opportunity to come together around trust. So may we all trust ourselves more and more and trust something deeper than what our eyes see. Blessings from the beach. I'll take that. Yeah, thank you so much again. And thank you for your donations. It really, really does help. And I'm really grateful for that. So